Thank you, Jim. Good evening. My name is Jason Perot, member of the Board of Selectmen, and I call to order this meeting of the March 31st, 2021 Board of Selectmen Interview Committee to order. This open meeting of the Northborough Board of Selectmen Interview Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which is referenced at the top of our posted agenda for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. This meeting is being conducted remotely using the Zoom conferencing application. Our posted meeting agenda notes the means by which the meeting can be viewed. For this meeting, the only option is the link for the Northborough YouTube remote meeting channel. If you go to the town website and look for the button on the homepage for Northborough remote meetings, it will take you to the correct location for you to find the live stream. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I'll now cover the ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. This is a meeting where we are conducting interviews and then deliberating on appointments. I will introduce each applicant who will be appearing tonight, and Scott Rogers and I will conduct the interview with that applicant. Following that, those interviews, we will deliberate, ask people to use their discretion, mute microphone when not speaking, and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Any votes taken this evening will be taken by roll call vote. I'd now like to just confirm the access of the participants in tonight's meeting. I'm Jason Perot, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and tonight, a member of the Board of Selectmen's Interview Subcommittee. We also have Scott Rogers, member of the Board of Selectmen. I'm here. Thank you, Scott. We will confirm additional remote participants at the time they're brought into the meeting for their respective agenda items. That concludes this portion. I'll now just kind of explain the context for tonight's meeting. The Zoning Board of Appeals has 3 positions up for reappointment. 2 of those are regular seats. 1 is an alternate seat. The 2 incumbents in the regular seats are seeking reappointment. The incumbent in the alternate seat is not seeking reappointment. In addition to the 2 incumbents, we had 4 new applicants who are seeking to be appointed. We conducted an interview session on Monday night, the 29th, with those 4 applicants. So this is the second of 2 meetings. Tonight, we will be speaking with the 2 incumbents, and following that, Scott Rogers and I will enter into a deliberation to formulate our recommendation, which will be made to the Board of Selectmen at its April 12th meeting. Just to note, Scott Rogers and I are not the usual members of the Selectmen's Interview Committee. Leslie Rattan and Tim Kalin, who are the interview subcommittee members, both perceive themselves to have conflicts of interest with respect to some of the applicants this evening. So they recused themselves, and Scott and I are standing in their place tonight to conduct these interviews. And I think with that, we're ready to move to the first guest for the night. So Jim, if you could bring in Fran Backstrand. Hello, Fran.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, very good.
Hi, Fran.
There you go. Hi, Scott.
Thank you for appearing here tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. As I mentioned, as I just described, we have 3 seats on the ZBA up for reappointment. two of the regular seats, which you and Mark Rattan are seeking reappointment, and also an alternate seat where the incumbent is not seeking reappointment. So we conducted our interviews of the 4 new applicants on Monday night, and now we're speaking to the 2 incumbents tonight, and we'll deliberate following this.
Sounds like a plan.
To begin, there are some standard questions that we will be asking you. It won't be quite the same as with the regular applicants or with the new applicants, considering you're already a member of the ZBA. Can you just state how long you've been a town resident, year of residency?
Sure. I've been here since 1987, so it's 34 years.
Okay. And can you just describe your understanding of the role of the ZBA?
Sure. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a statutory required entity in each municipality in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to hear appeals of the zoning enforcement officer's decisions, special permits with site plan approval and special permits and variances.
Okay. Can you describe your qualifications as it pertains to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Sure. I can tell you that I am interested in the subject matter. I think it is an important position in the town. I have the self-confidence and ability to stand true to my convictions. I think that that is one of the things that is the most difficult and challenging aspect of being on the zoning board, is that you sit there in person in front of a group of your neighbors or your friends or your colleagues, and have to disagree in public with their passionate view on something that is happening. You base that decision on the facts in front of you, the balance that you give it as you approach it, and you make a decision. It is a difficult position because invariably somebody is upset with the decision you make. So you have to be strong in your convictions in order to be comfortable doing it. I happen to be that, so I think it does help me be a successful member.
Great, thank you, Fran.
Mm-hmm.
And just, had you ever appeared as a petitioner before a ZBA or planning board?
Believe it or not, back in probably in the 1990s, I was part of a petition group on a decision by the planning board on a development in this area of town.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, no, I have not.
Okay. So you spoke before that board at that time?
Yes, I was part of the appeal of their decision, part of the neighborhood group.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever offered input at a ZBA or planning board public hearing, just as a citizen offering your input on a particular item?
Over the years, yes, I have.
Yeah. Can you tell me what you feel is the necessary background or understanding for someone to serve on the ZBA?
Well, I think you have to have an understanding of how town governance works, how the responsibilities and regulations around what the zoning board's purview is. I think that you can learn a lot. I mean, as you're going along, I think practical volunteer experience weighs the same as professional experience. It's just a different perspective. So, I mean, did I know anything about land use or planning or zoning before I got involved? Very little. I mean, I learned as I went along, and that's what it means to be experienced. But no, prior to being part of a lawsuit against the planning board, I didn't really understand that I couldn't say no to a development just because I didn't like it.
Okay.
Which is what we did. We thought we could say, no, you can't develop that. We don't like it. And we learned that that was not really true.
I see.
And so then I got more involved.
Very good. Thank you. You have regularly attended town meeting over the course of your citizenship. Could you quantify that more precisely?
Sure. All right. So when I did I came here in 1987. I probably went to my first town meeting, I want to say in the early 90s. And I have participated. I don't know that I've missed, I might not have gotten to every second night in the
Mm.
past 30 years, but I know that I have attended every first night. Um, I think more importantly, I participated in town meeting. It's one thing to sit and raise your hand, your card with the majority. It's another thing to stand up at that microphone and say you oppose or you disagree or agree with someone. And that is, again, something that if you're strong in your convictions, you're capable of doing.
Thank you, Frank.
Mhm.
This is a standard question we've been asking most of the applicants. Other than the recent marijuana prohibition warrant article,
Mhm.
is there any other zoning matter that came before town meeting on a night you were in attendance that was of interest or concern to you?
Oh my goodness. Um, sure. I mean, um, some of them more entertaining than others. I will say that when I was on the Board of Selectmen, I supported and helped the Historical Commission present the demolition delay bylaw. I felt very strongly about that, and I worked as the liaison with the Historical Commission to move that forward. I stood up in opposition to the late departed Mark Fidrich's attempt to do a senior overlay district on his property, I believe, up on the north side of town. Because I disagreed with that. I voted actually in favor of the, I voted against the moratorium for the marijuana, which was again not popular at the time. Let's see. I did the zoning, but when there was a citizen's petition to remove the authority from the zoning board of appeals to have use variance authority, I presented the argument on behalf of the zoning board to the town body at that special meeting.
Very good. I think that's sufficient.
Okay.
Are there any do you have any questions for us? Typically, we ask the applicants if they have questions. For the new applicants, we had Paul Tagliaferri, the ZBA clerk here, to provide the expert information regarding how the ZBA operates or what he understands to be the qualifications and skills that someone on the board needs to have to be productive. Ashley, perhaps you could comment in that direction yourself on what you, in terms of knowledge, in terms of other skills, or.
Well, you have to be interested in the subject matter. You have to be willing to be a team player. It is a majority rule or supermajority rule process. It's okay to debate and disagree. You have to be able to do that. You shouldn't feel you have to always concede. There's nothing wrong with a 4-to-1 vote, a 2-to-3 vote, 5-to-0, and vice versa. And the person has to be, comfortable with that. I think that the current zoning board of appeals has a very good makeup. We don't always agree. There is definitely not a unanimous vote on everything. And there is always healthy debate and discussion before a decision is made. So I do think that it's a well organized board. I mean, it's a very good team approach, and I think there is value to different perspectives. And so having some professional experience in the field can be helpful, but that doesn't help you if it's your neighbor sitting there in the audience saying to you, "But why won't you allow me to do it?" It's very different when you're the professional making the argument for someone. But you have to have a mix of people. You have to have a mix of I mean, I don't have a monopoly on good ideas. Other people are going to have good ideas, and I can sit there and think, okay, you know what? I think you persuaded me. I'm going to change my mind. I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, we're a town of, over 5,000 households, 11,000 registered voters. We all don't agree on everything. we all want a nice place to live and nice things and development, and our taxes reasonable. We just might have a different perspective on how you're going to get there. Doesn't mean you're right or wrong, it's just different. And the board, I think, should reflect that.
Okay, very good. Do you have any questions for us, Fran?
No, I think I appreciate
Necessary.
your time and energy in the process. I am, it's up to you what you want to do. I mean, it's your call. I'm happy to serve another 3 years. I'm not going to take it personally if you don't want me to. I think that you have to make the decision that you think is right for the town.
Okay, thank you. Scott Rogers, do you have any further questions?
No additional questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you, Fran. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
And Jim, can you bring in Mark Rutan? Hello, Mark. Connecting. Mark, can you hear us?
That's odd. I haven't seen it connect for that long.
Going to
Oh,
see.
there we go.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Sorry.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Little glitch there in getting the connection established, but seems to be here now.
Oh, I didn't notice because I was looking the other way and only turned my head.
Okay.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
So just to briefly explain, not that you're unfamiliar, there are 3 seats on the Zoning Board of Appeals that are up for reappointment, 2 regular seats and 1 alternate seat. You and Fran Backstrand, the 2 incumbents of the regular seats, are seeking reappointment. Leslie Harrison, the incumbent in the alternate seat, is not seeking reappointment. So in addition to the 2 incumbents, we have 4 new applicants who we spoke with on Monday night. So this is the second of 2 meetings that Scott and I are conducting the interviews for. And so following the interview segment, Scott and I will deliberate to formulate a recommendation that we'll make to the Board of Selectmen at the April 12th Selectmen meeting. So we have a semi-standard list of questions that we wanted to walk through.
Oh, okay.
If you're ready to begin.
Sure.
Can you just state how long you've been a town resident or year of residency?
I've been here 30 years,
Okay.
amazingly enough, as of this month.
Yep. And you've served on the Zoning Board of Appeals for how long?
21 years.
Okay. And can you break that down into service as an alternate versus service as a regular?
Only at my best guess. It was 3 or 4 years as an alternate. And as I said in my statement to Diane, I think I moved up to a voting member when we expanded the board from 3 to 5 members. Before that, I was happy to be an alternate
Okay.
on the board and learning the ropes, so to speak.
Right. So originally there were 3 regular members, and was it 1 alternate?
We, at the time, they wanted to get as many alternates as they could. So there was either 2 or even 3 alternates because we never knew if other alternates were going to have to drop out.
Yeah.
When Jane Walsh and Dick Pedoni, who was the chair at the time, recruited me on the board, they were looking for people.
Mhm.
It was not, and because I think they were down to one alternate or something like that. They were worried that if they lose that one, that they have none.
I see. And then the board was expanded from 3 to 5 because by law you have to have what was it, 75%?
Yeah, so, yeah, this is a case where, with 3 people, anyone voting against it, anybody has a bee in their bonnet against the project, that was it. It was not going to pass. In going to 5 members, we figured, okay, you can have one wild card where somebody says, no, I don't like these, and it can still pass if the other 4 people are in favor of it.
Got it.
That also comes into play currently in that when you bring up a decision to be voted by the zoning board, you bring it up in the affirmative so that 4 people have to pass it, or or whatever. If you brought it up in the negative, like we vote to deny this, well, then what happens if you don't get 4 people to deny it? You're in a quandary. Does it pass by, the fact that you didn't deny it?
Sure.
So
I
it's
see.
just a mechanism that this supermajority complicates things in the mechanics of how this happens.
Got it. Can you just kind of summarize what your understanding of the role of the ZBA is?
It was best described to me by Dick Pedoni when he interviewed me for the board. He said, "We are here to break the rules." And in fact, I was recently reminded of this by someone who was there when the zoning amendments were first written. They were actually made too strict. In other words, there's a feeling that you cannot create zoning rules that are 100% perfect. So what you do is you make them too strict, and then you allow an appeal to the zoning board so that the zoning board can say, okay, what you're asking for is actually reasonable, even though it breaks the rules. So we will grant you a variance, or we will grant you a special permit, but we'll have it go in front of human beings, and you have to explain it today so that we say whether this is a reasonable request or whether this is, this is actually breaking the intent of the rules, and we're not going to allow it. So did that answer your question?
I think so. I mean, fundamentally, the zoning bylaws try to specify certain intentions, but for a particular project or a particular proposal, there may be mitigating circumstances that would justify an exception. So, as you say, your role is to decide whether to break the rules. Can you state your qualifications as they pertain to service on the ZBA? I mean, obviously, as a long-serving member, you have that experience.
Basically, I've had some light construction experience around my own homes and in other homes where I've worked on projects. That it's hard to verbalize, but it gives you an idea of size and shape, and the whole idea of if it's this big, it's not huge, it's not small. What's substantial and what isn't. And other than that, I've had some, knowledge of the land and the topology of the town, stuff like that. But I have no legal background.
Okay. Have you ever appeared as a petitioner before a ZBA or planning board?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Though I have applied for a building permit.
Sure.
Lower level.
Have you ever offered input at a ZBA or planning board public hearing in your capacity as a citizen on some issue?
Only when do you mean before being on the ZBA or while?
Not necessarily, more just as a private citizen, as a private
Right,
citizen
okay.
as opposed to.
I disqualified myself for a ZBA hearing for a car lot that's at the head of Hemlock Drive in Route 20, and made a few suggestions as a private member from the audience at that point.
Mhm. What would you characterize as helpful to a ZBA member in terms of knowledge or information resources or things of that nature in order to conduct the proceedings of the ZBA?
I think you need to know have a sense of the town and have a sense of the different areas of the town to know that, yes, there is a downtown business district, there are residential areas, and the layout of the streets, the connectivity through the town. And I think you have to understand that there are businesses in town that want to operate as businesses, and people as residents who want the safety and quiet that pretty much all landowners in town have a right to enjoy their property. That as a ZBA member, I hear what a landowner wants to do, and I have to weigh that again. And it's his right, because he owns the property, to develop it the way he wants. But at the same time, you have to protect the abutters and the neighborhood and the characteristics of why everyone else bought into that area.
Thank you. It's a question I've been asking everybody. Do you regularly attend town meeting, and can you quantify how often that would be?
I'd say I make about 2/3 of the town meetings.
Okay.
In the 30 years I've been here.
Yeah.
It's at the high school that's, just over the fence, so it's quite easy for me to get to.
Not convenient, more convenient for anyone other than you. Huh?
Yeah.
Other than the recent marijuana prohibition warrant article, do you recall any other zoning matter that came before town meeting on a night you were in attendance that was of particular interest or concern to you?
Well, the recent town meeting we had in the open field there had some changes to the zoning rules as far as who heard what. In fact, I voiced some opinions at that meeting as far as, where we were going with these things.
Okay. Scott Rogers, do you have any questions?
Yeah, it was just Mark. It was helping me remember that was the zoning changes on which boards heard different appeals. Is that what it was?
Yeah, basically. And there was also, as I say, a sense that it was the expressed opinion of that, well, why did we make these zoning rules except that the people of Northborough wanted them that way? And as I say, that kind of was in contrast to what I've been told by people who wrote those zoning rules, who said, no, we wrote them too strict in order to have them appealed to, broken in some cases to a reasonable level.
See.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, do you have any questions for us?
Not offhand. I hope you have a sense that I do enjoy my work on the zoning board. I did stick around for quite a few years as an alternate, and am happy to have moved up to being a voting member. I do think I contribute well to the board. I enjoy working with the different points of view that come onto the board. And when a decision goes, when we vote on a decision and there's a split, it's not unanimous. I've appreciated the points of view that have brought up that are in opposition to my own, saying that, no, this is changing the character of the town too much, or this is, generally, if things are found against my opinion, I appreciate those people speaking out and, my fellow board members, because I know that they are coming from an honest opinion. I feel the board has honest opinions currently, that I can admire them.
Got it. Very good. Anything else or?
Nope, not
Okay.
that I can think of.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your time here with us tonight, and have a good evening.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jason.
All right.
See you,
Thank
Scott.
you, Mark.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Excuse me for a moment. Sorry. At this point, the interview subcommittee has concluded the interviews with the incumbents and with the new applicants. Scott and I now will discuss our perceptions and try to come to some conclusion about who to recommend for the 2 regular and 1 alternate spot on the ZBA. So, Scott, I'll first invite your perspective or general impressions about the interview process and the candidates.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, it's always great to have double the number of applicants for the positions that we're looking to appoint. So it's great to see that interest and get the quality of candidates and people that are passionate about serving the community. I think was good that we had short timeframes, right? But in each time frame, I didn't feel that we were rushing the candidates, that they had time to answer the questions. And by having our standard set of questions offer an even field of play, kind of giving everybody ample time to answer the same set. Mm-hmm. So that, I think the process was good in that respect. So that gives us some commonality in terms of the answers to the questions, to be able to look across and get a feel for both the specific answers to those questions, what was submitted in terms of their application and supplemental material that was attached, and get a feel for their demeanor. For some of the folks, we've interacted with them as friends and neighbors and other board members and committee members, so that fills in some of the gaps in our knowledge as well.
All right.
So all in all, we can't make a bad decision here in my mind, in that we have great candidates across the board.
Great, thank you, Scott. I would kind of second the notion that it's always good to have more candidates for the seats than more seats than candidates. We certainly have some number of boards and committees in town with vacancies that continue to linger, and we don't have people stepping up for some of those positions. So to have this kind of interest is certainly is welcome.
That might be an opportunity to advertise if
well,
anyone is interested in filling those vacancies.
Obviously, we have a decision to make here, and 3 people in some sense will be disappointed. And so the question is there perhaps another role or something that they would find of interest and pursue? So I guess with this number of candidates, there is the difficulty of sifting through all of them. How would you like to go through candidate by candidate in the order of appearance and just make some observations first, or?
Well, I think, one thing I want to be mindful of is I want to be sensitive to relative, comparisons. I wouldn't want to necessarily do strengths and weaknesses and then have candidates be concerned about us saying some weakness or something like that.
Sure.
So I think one way to approach this is maybe make some higher level decisions in that we have incumbents that are looking to be reappointed. So one way we might look at it is if there's any reason to not reappoint the incumbents that have held that position. That might be one way to simplify both the discussion and the evaluation of the candidates.
Okay. So we have two incumbents who are long-serving, knowledgeable, experienced, familiar with the bylaws, familiar with the evolution of the bylaws, the experience of having seen a number of applicants before them for various kinds of relief, and having to make those decisions and the thought process that's gone into that. In consideration of that knowledge and experience, I guess I would ask the question, was there anyone among the new candidates who offered such a compelling story that they would displace one of the incumbents? As I went down through the different candidates, my feeling is that we have people who are enthusiastic, but we have people who are not necessarily fully knowledgeable and fully operable as members of the ZBA to step into a regular role immediately. And I think the typical progression we've heard from most of the members is that they typically begin as an alternate, get to participate in the proceedings and develop some of that experience and knowledge before at some later point being promoted, if you will, to a regular member, voting member. That's the circumstance with Mr. Rutan. I believe the circumstance with Ms. Backstrand is the circumstance with Paul Tagliaferri, ZBA clerk, who was with us on Monday night. And from prior experience, that was the circumstance with Brad Blanchett, who's also a current ZBA member, first serving as an alternate, and then based on their continuing interest in continuing to serve and developing that knowledge and experience, stepping up into a regular seat. So do you have any opinions?
Yeah,
points?
in the spectrum of that the zoning board of appeals as a granting authority, right? This is an important board in our town, so that I tend to lean more towards that continuing experience and that body of knowledge that comes through both expertise that folks bring to the position, but the experience of being on the board and that depth of situations that have come before them that I lean towards maintaining, or retaining. the folks that are in those positions now, if they're willing to continue to serve.
Okay. So are we in agreement then that we don't see any of the 4 new applicants as having sufficient qualifications or knowledge at this point that would cause us to prefer them ahead of the knowledge and experience of the incumbents?
Yeah, not for me. I'd like to see, appointment of into the alternate, and then that progression into a full member.
I'm certainly in agreement with that. We have a lot of boards and committees in town. Some of those boards and committees, I think I've said this before, they don't require much more in the way of qualifications other than time, interest, and energy. Something like the Zoning Board of Appeals is a very different situation. It requires a significant amount of knowledge, familiarity with the zoning bylaws. I believe I said the other night, understanding of the legal framework in which you operate in order to arrive at sound decisions. It seems to me that it is the kind of board that necessitates somebody entering as an alternate, developing that experience over some period of time, and then stepping up into the regular committee member role. So from that perspective, I think my inclination is to retain Fran Backstrand and Mark Rattan in the regular seats. If you're in agreement with that?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. Then we come to the alternate seat for which we have 4 candidates. I can, well, there's one, I want to say there's one that stands out that has special considerations attached, and I'd like to discuss that one first.
Okay, yeah.
That would be Ashley Davies. Ashley, by her professional experience and qualifications, I would argue is the most qualified, perhaps, of the applicants to serve on the ZBA. That said, she's currently serving on the Open Space Committee and is the Open Space Committee's designee to the Master Plan Implementation Committee. And in my mind, it would be too much of a load to also have her serve on the ZBA. And if I'm choosing or looking at those different options, my feeling is that her experience and perhaps even her interest is really in the Master Plan Implementation Committee and continuing the work there. She did serve on the Master Plan Steering Committee. In the interview, she did express a strong interest in wanting to continue along on the Implementation Committee. And I have the feeling that she's well qualified to kind of grapple with some of those broader themes and broader issues that will come up through that committee. Perhaps to the town's better advantage than if she were serving on the ZBA and just, addressing the specific applications that come through there.
Yeah, her profession and inclination as a planner and developing bylaws. And I see what you're saying there, right? In that helping us from a master planning point of view and how we move forward in some of the changes that we want to make in town, as opposed to, merely, I shouldn't say merely, but as opposed to, granting variances and special permits. Yeah, I see. I reached a similar feeling, is that great qualifications and might best be used in helping us move forward in a forward planning perspective. If that's where she continues, her passion lies.
And certainly doesn't rule out some future opportunity for her to serve on ZBA once that work is complete.
Yeah, great resource to have. Great resource to have.
Okay. So I think we have one highly qualified candidate, which we are eliminating for extenuating circumstances.
Is it want to keep her talents in the area that
We certainly want to keep her on
currently
board,
serving.
Right. And I think that, in my opinion, I think the Master Plan Implementation Committee is a perhaps more effective spot for her and more effective use of her experience and skills. So for that reason, I'll throw it to you if you want to.
Yeah. So, in a similar vein, then I look at, prior experiences and in the area. And so for me, the next person to rise would be Susie Seslika with her background in to discuss, her background in working with towns and working with residents in other areas about zoning issues. So, and if we look through that experience, she's one I would consider then based on those experiences and qualifications.
Okay. I think I had a similar perception. She's a lawyer, retired lawyer, she described herself now, but with that legal background has certainly that was a qualification that Paul Tagliaferri said would be valuable in serving on ZBA, having that legal background to understand the framework that they operate in and what various considerations come into play from the legal standpoint. And her other experiences related to real estate, land use, some bylaw interaction there. So did strike me as suitable qualifications, desirable qualifications for somebody seeking to serve on that board. We have two other candidates. Both of them, I think, very accomplished professionally. Mr. Wickstead, I believe, orthopedic surgeon. Mr. Ray, business executive with a great deal of responsibility for each of them. Certainly both very interested and I think very articulate in stating their interest and desire to become more involved. Mr. Ray was a candidate for the ZBA 2 years ago. At that time, again, a circumstance where you have someone with essentially little knowledge or prior experience or interaction with the ZBA compared to an incumbent, a very experienced incumbent for that one appointment. So yeah, he was not selected at that time. And Mr. Wickstead similarly has been, a frequent caller to some meetings, and I think always, well researched and able to clearly, state his position. I would say I do have some reservations with those two candidates, precisely because there is a particular issue in close proximity to their neighborhoods. I'm reluctant to, to seem to be putting someone on a board or committee with potentially a predisposition or perhaps in some case a need to recuse from a particular issue. That's not necessarily a constructive use of the seat, if you will. So again, in other circumstances or with more education, I was actually kind of struck during the interviews because one thing that surprised me was that Mr. Ray was the one candidate who did not say anything in detail about familiarity with the bylaws or having reread them or researched them recently. I would have expected somewhat more development, if you will, compared to his first appearance a couple of years ago. I think I also have to say that I'm left with the feeling that some of the candidates are maybe a little more generous in their evaluation of participation in town meeting than reality would suggest. I suppose there's a desire to present oneself favorably in that sense, but I think the actual experience of several of these candidates is perhaps a little less than what was represented. So, so again, in evaluation for selection for an alternate, do you have any other observations you want to make or viewpoints?
Yeah, I think based on the candidates then in front of us, and the topics that we've looked at, that balance of experience, that balance of participation, being sensitive to perhaps areas that someone might need to recuse themselves or have a conflict of interest. I think then amongst those, then Susie as the alternate is a good selection.
I think I would agree. Mrs. Lika has been certainly vocal about certain issues in town over the last year, but I think that has been, in some sense, broadly based concern and not so much centrally focused on a particular issue or a particular area. I think with her qualifications, she is the best candidate for the alternate position, looking at kind of the entirety of her skill set, her interest, and enthusiasm. So she certainly is, I think, very accomplished volunteer. I think when she makes that commitment, she fulfills that commitment. And so, as she says, she has one volunteer activity coming to an end, and is going to have some capacity to take this on. And I certainly would, like to see what she can do with it. So,
yep. Agreed.
Okay, then we have to do three.
Formal
motions.
motion in here.
Yes, there's only two of us, so I'll ask you to make the motion.
Sounds good. And just in terms of structure, individually or package of three?
I would do. Yeah, I think maybe it's best to do them individually.
Okay, so I move that we reappoint Mark Rutan to the Zoning Board of Appeals regular position.
Okay, I would suggest rephrasing that as recommend appointment.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we are not appointing. We are going to recommend reappointment of Mark Rutan to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second, this is a roll call vote. Scott Rogers,
Aye.
and I vote aye. That recommendation carries unanimously. Next,
Yeah, I'd like to move that we recommend reappointment of Fran Backstrom to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
second, a roll call vote. Scott Rogers,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. Carries unanimously for recommendation. And third,
I move that we recommend the appointment of Susie Cislika to the alternate position on the Zoning Board of Appeals.
second, roll call vote. Scott Rogers,
Aye.
I, Jason Perot, vote aye. And so we have our recommendations, which will be brought to the Board of Selectmen at its April, I keep saying this date, I hope it's right, April 12th meeting. And thank you, Scott. I appreciate your effort here as a substitute subcommittee, interview subcommittee member, as I am, and appreciate the assistance of Jim DiGiulio, our Zoom host for this evening, for providing that technical assistance.
Yes, thank you, Jim.
And I want to thank all of the applicants we had. As we said earlier, Scott, you pointed out that it's in some sense an embarrassment of riches to have this much interest and this many candidates to consider. So we certainly appreciate their interest in stepping forward to be considered. And for those who, we still have the process to go through the Board of Selectmen to finalize appointments, but to the extent that those who are not appointed may have still some interest in town service, I would certainly encourage them to investigate the other openings and vacancies on other town boards and committees. And
Yes,
see if there's
please.
something that aligns with their interest, right? So with that, I think we're concluded for the evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second, roll call vote. Scott Rogers,
Aye.
and I, Jason Perot, vote aye. The meeting of the Selectmen's